New Spurs boss Thomas Frank will be meeting his Tottenham Hotspur squad in the next couple of days at Hotspur Way. It is now only 20 days until Spurs face Reading in our first pre-season friendly. The Burnley game in the Premier League is 48 days away, and the transfer window, 64 days remain in the window. Sheffield United want to sign Ashley Phillips for around £6 million, according to Football League World. And Fabrizio Romano has just stated that Spurs still have Eze on their list, but there are plenty of names on Tottenham's list, but the club are still deciding. Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. This is another episode of Tottenham News where I'll be going through all of the latest Spurs news, rumours and reports. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit the follow button and leave a review if you can. And while I've got this opportunity, please do nominate us for the 2025 Football Content Awards. All of the details are below. All of your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Now, let's start by talking about the 6 games that Thomas Frank will take charge of before Tottenham's Premier League campaign starts against Burnley on the 16th of August. Now, Thomas Frank will start working with his Tottenham Hotspur players in the next couple of days. His first game in charge will be against Reading in just 20 days' time. Tottenham's pre-season games are as follows: Reading away, Luton Town away, Arsenal will be facing them in Hong Kong, Newcastle United in South Korea and Bayern Munich away. And then, of course, on the 13th of August, we will be facing PSG in Italy in the Super Cup final. Football League World have stated that Sheffield United are willing to pay Tottenham Hotspur around £6 million for centre-back Ashley Phillips. The offer has been turned down as Thomas Frank wants to keep the 20-year-old, and he has been a Tottenham player since 2023, having caught the eye of the Premier League giants whilst playing for Blackburn. He has been sent on loan twice at Plymouth and Stoke City, respectively. Now, one player that Tottenham Hotspur are constantly linked with at the moment, and that is Crystal Palace and England star Eze. Italian journalist and transfer expert Fabrizio Romano has given an update on this situation. He has stated that Tottenham Hotspur are preparing the list together with Thomas Frank, so at the moment there could be plenty of names before Spurs decide who it is that they want to sign. For sure, one player they appreciate already since last summer is Crystal Palace and England star Eze, who did fantastically this season at Crystal Palace. So he remains one of the targets on the list at Spurs, but at the moment, still not an active negotiation because they are still assessing all of the options and then deciding who it is, the player they want to sign. On Saturday night, Tottenham Hotspur star Archie Gray collected a second winner's medal in as many months, tasting European Under-21 Championship final glory with England. The Young Lions triumphed 3-2 against Germany after extra time to make it back-to-back successes in the tournament, having also won it back in 2023. Archie Gray was on the bench for the showpiece match in Bratislava, having featured in 3 of England's 6 games at the tournament. He proudly stepped up to collect his medal after the game, having done likewise with us in the Europa League final in Bilbao a little over a month ago. And lastly, Tottenham's first pre-season game takes place in just 20 days' time against Reading away. Tottenham's first Premier League game against Burnley is just 48 days away, and the transfer window ends in 64 days' time. Now, my thoughts on everything in this short episode today, and sorry about that, there is just not a lot of news, rumours and reports concerning Tottenham Hotspur and the transfer window right now, but what I can tell you is that this coming week, in the next couple of days, Thomas Frank will be at Hotspur Way. He will be meeting all of his Tottenham Hotspur players and squad. And this is when I expect things to start heating up and get a little bit busier, because some players will be heading out the door. Of course, their contracts are up 30th of June. A lot is expected to happen from the 1st of July. And as I've said already in this episode a couple of times, our first pre-season friendly is in 20 days' time. And there have been a lot of media reports out, particularly from Football.London, stating that it is heavily expected that Spurs will sign a couple of players before pre-season starts. 20 days away. I expect it to start heating up and getting busy, and Spurs to sign a couple of players because Thomas Frank needs help. However, am I surprised that we haven't done much business so far? No, I'm not, because Thomas Frank hasn't even met his full squad yet at Spurs. So, as soon as he goes in the door at Hotspur Way, which will be this week, I expect things will start hotting up and getting busy for the football club, because Spurs have a lot of catching up to do in terms of the transfer window, because of course we are going to be playing Champions League football. That is going to be extremely tough. To compete in the Champions League is going to be very tough, and Spurs need real quality to come in. We all know that, Spurs fans. The club aren't stupid either. They know that as well. They know that they have got a lot of catching up to do in terms of all of our rivals. Arsenal, Chelsea. I hear that Chelsea are now doing business. João Pedro from Brighton, they will be signing him. Lots of transfers are happening with our rivals, and of course it is frustrating a lot of Spurs fans because we're all seeing all of our rivals do really good business. Liverpool have done some great business so far, Manchester City as well, Arsenal are making waves in the transfer window as well, and a lot of teams are doing things, and a lot of us Spurs fans are just looking on saying, what are we doing? But Thomas Frank will have to assess his squad. Thomas Frank will have to meet everyone. He will then work out who he does want to keep, who he will want to send out on loan, who he may even want to sell. So I've no doubt that he will be assessing his squad heavily this week, and then Spurs should be busy. In an ideal world, absolutely, a manager should have all of their signings in before pre-season starts in 20 days' time. But there is 64 days left of the transfer window. Not ideal. I completely agree with a lot of you who have been heavily disappointed, shouting, angry, whatever you want to call it. I get all of the frustration. I feel very frustrated myself, the fact that, we haven't done business early. And a lot of people have rightly pointed out as well that Ange Postecoglou actually got on the phone a lot of the time, and he persuaded a lot of players to join Spurs. That's going to be an interesting situation to see whether Thomas Frank does have that same effect, whether he can get people on the phone, and whether he can then persuade, young players, up-and-coming players, experienced players, players who have been there, done it, got the T-shirt, and would be a good fit at Spurs. Will he now be able to get on the phone, and will he be able to persuade these players? But, some people would say, do you need to persuade players? This is Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, and we are a Champions League team. A lot of players should want to come to Spurs. We have spoken out a lot of time about the wage demands of certain players, and then perhaps going to other clubs because they are paying wages. We don't know whether that wage cap is remaining for this coming season with Vinay Venkatesham now coming in. Does that change? Do the club operate in a different way going forward? Because, we've got to go with the times. In many respects, because you cannot keep operating that same way. If something hasn't worked in the past, or you need to improve things, then you need to change certain club policies, structures, etc., etc. So it's going to be interesting to see what does actually happen and does change at the football club. But I do get the frustration, absolutely, and I want to see the signings coming in as soon as possible. Eze, how many times have I sat here and spoke about Eze? Getting players like this in should be very normal. Getting players of this quality in, we should be seeing this every single summer. And I really do hope that Spurs do go out and buy a player like Eze in this transfer window, because it is something we desperately need. Fabrizio Romano has stated that Eze is still very much on the list for Spurs, but in his words, there are plenty of names. Now, we know that Johan Langer does things a lot more quietly than Fabio Pracci used to. Fabio Pracci, and I've been told this by Fabrizio Romano on this very channel on more than one occasion, that he operates where he has a whole list of players that he looks at once. And Johan Lange does things very differently to Fabio Paratici. And of course, he keeps everything under the radar, whereas Fabio, he would do things very publicly, and a lot of places, people, journalists would know exactly the players Fabio Paratici is or were looking at. Johan Lange does things in a completely different way. Many congratulations to Archie Gray collecting another winner's medal. Unbelievable for such a young player to win the Europa League with Spurs and now to win a under-21 medal with England. Unbelievable. So many congratulations to him. And Sheffield United wanting to sign Ashley Phillips for £6 million. We actually bought Ashley Phillips 2 years ago for £2 million. Is he going to be in Thomas Frank's plans? The report from Football League World state that Thomas Frank actually wants him to stay at the football club. As I said at the start of my thoughts here, I've no doubt that Thomas Frank wants to see every single player, every youth player, development player, every player that's gone out on loan. He will want to assess every single player to work out where he can use certain players, where he may want to offload one or two players in the squad. It's going to be interesting, but a lot of this stuff does need to happen very quickly because, as I keep saying, 20 days away, that Reading away game. But that game away at Reading and that other game away in the UK in Luton, that would actually give us a couple more weeks before the club do travel to Hong Kong and South Korea for the Asia Tour, those two games out there. And then, of course, we've then got the Bayern Munich away game as well. And then that huge game against PSG in the Super Cup. And then, of course, the Premier League season starts. But it does actually give us a couple more weeks before the Asia Tour to sign players. And I feel like that is the time when you need new players to definitely be on that plane. I've spoken about this in previous transfer windows, summer transfer windows. I feel like whoever the manager has been, it has been very, very important those players do get on that plane and be a part of that pre-season. And it's very important as well to the managers to feel like those players have got full fitness and have been a part of that squad in pre-season. I feel like that is very, very important. So, my overall assessment and my overall view is there is a lot to do in a short amount of time. But I've no doubt at all that signings will definitely come through the door. I just can't tell you at the moment what type of quality they are going to be, whether they're going to be players for the future or experienced players. But if you listen to this channel on a regular basis, you will know that it has to be experienced players for me. It has to be. We've got a number of young players. We've got a number of young and up-and-coming players, etc., players for the future, etc. And it is now time for experienced players to walk through that door and help us go far in the Champions League and help us get a good Premier League place for next season. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. If you can nominate us for the 2025 Football Content Awards, it will be greatly appreciated. Enjoy your week. Stay safe and well. I'll see you on the next one. Come on, you Spurs.